beautiful souls, fellow light workers, shadow dancers, and star seeds, and beings of many interesting names. This is day 2, 4 days and 40 nights, as in counting backwards, or the countdown, which is funny. It reminds there was a thing going on. It's the final countdown. Like there was a sync that was going on like that when the 40 days and 40 nights thing started. But I remember thinking, why? What is like? I know what countdown stuff means for me personally, and stuff like between me and my twin flame, and I know what countdowns mean metaphorically. So I knew it was like counting down to something, but I don't have all the elements to know what these specific countdowns are all about. And there's so many of them that it's like, obviously, we're learning something about countdowns. Anyways, I remember that there was the energy of the final countdown. And then there was the 40 days and 40 nights things. Then my guides were like, "You're gonna do 40 days and 40 nights," and I remembered there was some drawings that I did early on for my Cabot. They were my Cabby doodles, and one of them was stuffy, but done up as Moses with the parting of the seasons, and that was part of 40 days and 40 nights thing in like in other spiritual paths. And so I was thinking, like, it is kind of funny, like I don't have those drawings all on me. I'm hoping they are still intact and where I left them, but even if they're not, I know I took pictures of them. And I'm wondering, like, later on when I look at them, are there going to be things we went through that were all things that I drew? That would be trippy. Uh, I Crazier things have happened though, so it's not out of the realms of possibility. That being said, I'm wondering if the 40 days and 40 nights were the answer to the question, what's with the final countdown energy? And being that it's only 2 days away, I'm really interested to see what sort of cool stuff is going to happen. I know, like, I don't know what all is going to happen there. I just know that it's going to be amazing. And that was another really fun spiritual lesson to be shown, that mantra. I don't know what all's going to happen. I just know it's going to be really amazing. And in fact, I know it's going to be benevolently legendary. And I'm going to be really grateful for whatever, if it's a singular thing that happens or if it's many plural things that happen. I feel like a fair amount of it has to do with our housing. I know that we're in the middle of Mercury retrograde, and it's funny. I suppose it is part of it's another countdown. Like, I was just told by DSHS Friday that, like, now, now that I have work, they're going to take away the TANF, which would be cash support that we have, and then it gives us approximately 10 days, business days, that we could use. They'll help with getting it, with putting a deposit money on getting it. However, with that time counting down, we still have about 4 days left of this Mercury retrograde in Aquarius. And between that and the post shadow of Venus retrograde in Capricorn, which is part of this 40 days and 40 nights countdown, because it was 40 days and 40 nights. So that just recently ended. But with that coming in and all the other stuff, it's definitely kicking my butt in terms of, like, testiness. Like, I want to work. I want to work, and I want the social architecture to come together, and I want it to be nice with each other. Been having some fun at work in that sort of Capricorny sense that I'm not going to talk about, but it's definitely testing me. And on top of that, I went and, like, we visited and called several low-income apartments, which I'm in a waffly place about it. For those of you that follow along with manifestation, like, if you're trying to manifest something and you're waffly about what you're manifesting, it will come out waffly. And that annoys me because, like, I've been in a really good, easy place about manifesting most things. And this Mercury retrograde has definitely got, it's like, there's a few things that I would like to have in terms of housing. I know I've done my due diligence, and I know that Spirit has shown me how that got set up with the jobs and got set up with other things, and that it's just a matter of time. I put in the right work. I put in the effort. I've worked on my shadows. I've worked on my stuff. Again, that's what Mercury retrograde often is that we do something again and we make sure that we have done it correctly, right? That we learned the lesson, we came around with it, right? We did the thing, we did the next right thing. Sometimes the hard thing, sometimes the easy thing, but the next right thing for us. And I know that housing is just around the corner. That being said, it was frustrating because I can't just sit on my butt with only 10 days. Like, somebody might accuse me of thinking I'm too spiritual to look for housing. Kind of like they accused me of being too spiritual to work when I was, in fact, the whole time applying for work and doing stuff like that, because that's part of who I am. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of people, and I'm plenty spiritual. Like, I could do a lot of things, but like, I like working. I like earning stuff. I like being able to look tangibly into my hands and say, I built that. I made that. I earned that. I bargained for that. I negotiated for that. Whatever it is. Like, I did that. It feels good. I like doing that, And I like that I put in a lot of effort. Not just recently for housing. I've been trying, my dream for my 100-acre woods has been in progress for quite a while. I know how to get it. It's just getting the cooperative components in there. And it really, from what I've learned over the last couple of years, it's allowing in those cooperative components. It's when you get to this point, when you have all of the cooperative components, but a couple of things for the next thing that you want, or the next lesson you want to learn, or the next experience you want to have, or things like that. That's when you know it's right there. Like, as Abraham would say, it's in the vortex, but it's like right there. Like, that trick where someone will pull a coin from a kid's ear, be like, oh, look, it's magic, right? It's like right there. And there's just, sometimes it's just, you just have to wait. But you have to wait without being in waiting energy. That's part of what's great about the twin flame journey, that it teaches you how to wait without waiting, how to expect without expecting, how to love without loving, and know everything while being open to everything you don't know at the same time. There's many different ways I can think about it. It's kind of an openness, like a connection with all things, but an openness with all things, and you know that it's right there. One of these days I'll have a better way to explain that. I'm sure there's a few of you who know exactly what I'm talking about, and then there's a fair amount that are like, she's crazy, what is she talking about? It's okay. If you follow along with my channel, there are others that can vouch for me that it does eventually make sense. So I know that that's where this housing thing is, and I feel like it is wrapped into the countdown stuff. Like, I'm 2 days away from the 40 days and 40 nights, and I wasn't even sure how I was going to necessarily keep track of it or do it. Like, I think my original goal was to do it every day, but I think it really worked out really nicely that it went the way that it has. And I've noticed that a fair amount of my vlogging seems to have helped a fair amount of you who've been going through similar things. So maybe that was a part of the journey, right? Spirit's like, hey, you don't even get to know exactly what you're going to talk about or what you're going to do, but you're going to vlog for this 40 days and 40 nights. You're just going to see. We're going to show you at the end of it how amazing it is, right? So I'm hoping upon hoping that one of my favorite options comes through for housing. Because when we went to the apartments, it was like, the first one I went to, I was positive that it was the one that she said was low income, but it ended up being luxury apartments. And funny enough, they have some available. I just don't have $2,000 for move-in costs. Like, that's a lot. Actually, it's not as much as it really used to be, but it's still a lot right now. And so we didn't look at that one. And we went to the low income places, and most of them told me they do not have housing currently. and that they will have the waiting list open up in July. And so it's like, all right, here's another moment when, state and local support, it says, call us and do this thing and just jump through some hoops and help will be there, right? That's what we give them our tax money for. And then, well, the funny thing is it does usually eventually get you something, but that's only if you ride that line of like staying just under where you need in order to keep support from the state, and that's not a place to be. I've lived there, actually, a long time ago. I got out of living in that space of the DSHS line a long time ago, but like now is an interesting thing. I mean, the one thing that my family did have before was money, and so like it kind of kept me riding on that line, but I didn't have to worry so much about that sort of stuff. Like it was never enough to leave or build anything, but it was always enough to cover bills and stuff like that. And there was always at least, that could have been available in a moment like this. And this is the first time so in my life that I've not had that when I had my kids. I let go of it when I was a teenager. In fact, when I met my DM when I was a teen. But as an adult, like as soon as I was pregnant with my oldest, I stuffed it up and said, you know what? I'm gonna have a baby, and I don't want to put him through a life of struggle. So I leaned towards the money. Funny thing enough, then it ended up being a life of emotional struggle. So I learned that lesson, and we still have time in correcting that, and we are. But now I'm looking at it going, okay, independence, right? Like I've wanted independence for a while. I know this is something that I called it, but I'm looking at like there's something that I'm missing. Even with work stuff and other things going on, there's some sort of learning or experience, or it might just be timing. Sometimes it's just timing. Sometimes I think the 3D stuff just needs a little while to like marinate and for the right person to contact the right other person. It's 10:10 on my other clock. See, look at that, divine timing, right? Let things marinate, and the spirit moves this around and that around, and this person over there and that person over there, and then bam, you have the thing. So sometimes it's just finding a way to be happy in the waiting. I think Abraham talks a lot about that, like how you have to find joy and gratitude in the not having as if you have what you want to be having, knowing that it is like right there. And I do feel that way. I feel like housing is like right there, and I feel like it's connected to this 40 days and 40 nights thing. And I feel like it's also connected to the fact that like the low income stuff, the apartment stuff, it has not been coming through. Where I think I beat myself up a little bit, especially in this Mercury retrograde, is it's like I don't want an apartment. I feel prissy in saying that. Like, I feel like I'm being ungrateful for stuff because I will take one. That's why I went and looked. But I mentioned earlier about when your manifestation is waffly, right? And I know that I'm blocking that. Like, there could be a really cool apartment that I don't know about, or maybe a really cool duplex, or like, I don't know, like, it's just one. Eamon deserves to have space from other people, and so do I, and so does Squeak, and we've seen enough like cottages and small options. I know that they're out there, but we would take an apartment and we would live gratefully in it. We would make it home. Anywhere we are is already home, so we would bring home in with us to an apartment. I know apartment could be great, but I also feel that resistance. It's like I don't want to do an apartment, and most of the apartments too, even up this far north in Snohomish County, they are so spendy. And I'm looking at like how much I make with work, and it's like if I get a second full-time job, because this one is now just under full-time, and like if I get a second one in there, then maybe then I could pay for it and save money to get us out of it, because I don't want to stay in an apartment. I don't mind getting into an apartment, especially if it's like a very affordable apartment that I can save money on with one job. That would be really great. Though, I don't know, maybe that's where I need to find the joy in it, right? Maybe there's fun in apartments that I'm not thinking of, and then at the minute that I fall in love with apartments again, then the house will appear. That's usually how it works. Usually, when you are able to release resistance, and when you're able to enjoy the things that you have, that's when the things that you want come in. When you're not like sitting there thinking about them all the time, right? Which makes me laugh because it's still one of the main things is my DM, my kid's dad, and I got to talk to my youngest who's with him. I gave him to him, said, "You're not getting away that easy," but I'm laughing because more and more up here in the strangest of places where it should not happen, I see my DM's name. And I've even sent pictures of it to our youngest son, and I said, I keep telling his 5D self, you stop it, I'm trying to think about other things so I can manifest you in. and my youngest Joe, he goes, you can't, haha. And I was like, I love that you know why that's funny. Because he spent the last couple of years with me while his dad, my DM, was out in the karmic trenches, karmic circus and stuff. I so look forward to seeing whatever happens with these 40 days and 40 nights. Today's supposed to be the new Chinese New Year, and it's Year of the Tiger, and I think that's significant too. It's also the Aquarius new moon, and was it Venus just came out of retrograde, so there's a whole bunch of things going on right now, and it feels like the fact that Spirit had my 40 days and 40 nights of Venus in Capricorn be just a little bit off of when Venus in Capricorn actually did its retrograde and came out of it and stuff, that it just barely passes over the Chinese New Year that way, because otherwise it would have been lined up with it just before. So maybe there's something significant about 2 days over into the new year. High Priestess card, definitely divine feminine energy. We'll see. Maybe there'll be another way that money can come in. I really have been thinking about those classes that I want to teach. I've just been trying to wait for my schedule to kind of even out a little bit more, and then trying to get my sleep schedule back to a good company place. But thankfully, a new local friend offered a trailer for us to come and stay in during the night at least, and it's very, very nice to be able to have a little bit more room to spread out. My body definitely appreciates it, so I'm hoping that sleep and energy and having a safe place to park and stuff like that will also help my manifestations be a little less waffly. And then maybe I can start getting back to some of those tarot readings for you guys and those DM channeled messages. They do come in. I've just either not been alone or I've been very tired, so I told them, I said, no, you will wait. I will pass your message on to your Divine Feminine's later. All right, y'all. This Divine Feminine, wicked or not, is off to bed. Thank you so much for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing, and getting whatever you get out of this.